Uh-oh, the Ford Taurus 3.5 got a coolant leak. Let's go take a look inside. It's you'll see. I'm trying to be very careful not to touch too much stuff. But there's no food, I gotta say. Maybe they cleaned it out, but I mean, wow. Plus the glaucoma issue is another thing. That's this is a 2013, so it's 10 years old. All the lights in the dash are on. The front yard lit like the break of dawn. 135,562 miles. Low tire pressure. Check engine light. A couple other lights. Yeah, she's rough. I feel bad for these. I like cars. That's the problem. People, I like the good ones. Cars, I basically like them all. Some of them more than others, but they don't deserve this treatment. A little soap, a little water, no big deal. All right, let's stop being silly. Find out what's leaking coolant. Someone's been doing some work under the hood too, but they weren't successful. Got a new hose on there. Some of these things look new. Normally I don't have tags on them. Maybe they do, I don't know. I know this has been replaced, but man, it's rough. Got new valve cover gaskets. Someone's broke the dipstick. I don't know how we're going to check for oil, water in the oil, because this is the one where the water pump's driven by the timing chain. It goes bad and dumps the coolant in the engine. And we got to get that dipstick section out. Oh, here's the problem. I know why it doesn't run good. Boom, fixed. If only it was that simple. Let's find a way to get that piece of broken dipstick out of there. Maybe a world famous gear wrench pick. Oh, that's good. I don't see coolant all over it. Maybe it is an external leak. So much for your assumptions, Jimmy. I need to tighten up, get serious, and figure out what's wrong with this car. Let's stop. Top up the coolant and put a pressure. Oh, that was loose. And put a pressure tester on it. This definitely got something leaking bad. Could even be just a broken radiator if they're really lucky. Usually I was expecting to see milkshake on here, and you know coolant's going in the oil. So let's get some, we'll put water in it for now, assuming it's probably going to pour out somewhere. And we'll grab some pressure test equipment and a light. It does look like something's coming out of the front. Yep. Looks like the alternator's leaking coolant. That's the water pump weep hole. Makes it look like the alternator's leaking coolant. It comes out right behind and slightly above the alternator, and it comes right down there. That is not supposed to do that. I am going to lift it up just to be 100% sure, but looks like a leaking water pump. Just hasn't gone into the crankcase yet. Well, those tires, they're not going to cut it. Front end feels good. Brake pads and rotors look like they've been changed. The biggest thing is going to be that water pump leak, but I always do a full inspection on every vehicle now, so, but everything looks good other than the tires, that water pump, the wipers are shot, stuff like that. I'll take a peek at the air filter. It's going to be expensive enough. I don't really, you got to let people know when safety stuff's bad. If maintenance has been neglected, you got to let them know, and then you give them the option to do everything in different stages, and that's what we're going to do on this one, and we'll let you know how it goes. You guys remember this here 2001 Ford Sport Trac, don't you? We're going to fix some oil leaks on it today, or at least look a little further into it. We got some seals and stuff. The oil filter adapter is leaking, and I think I told you earlier, I thought it was rear main at first, but I believe the oil filter adapter is a bigger issue. So we're going to chase that after that first. That's from all the engine degreaser I put on it last week. think you have to take the exhaust manifold off to get to it on this side, but we'll see. Before I get this thing lifted up, I just wanted to take a quick look around the shop, see what's going on. Sorry for it, guys. That's funny. Of course, they are old Fords, all still on the road. Other than that one on the left behind me, that's a new one. Well, your oil filter adapter is right there. Looks like it's under the exhaust manifold. So I'm going to take this splash shield down first. What's that?
The adjuster is to the car with the air to see the crank seal. And we let it up a little bit.
Alright, I got to let it up, lift it up, and take those two stud nuts off. And luckily this engine looks like it's not that old, so these should all come right off. Shouldn't have bragged, huh? That was dumb. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it bites me. There's no tube in there for the EGR or air pump system already, so that's cool. If I take those two nuts off and those 6 bolts, I should be able to get that manifold out of my way, and the oil filter adapter is definitely leaking. You can see that oil running down. I think that's why it looked like a rear main to me. I didn't even know it had an adapter that's removable on it. I thought it was part of the block, so my fault for missing that, but we're gonna fix it. That's the good news. 15 and 13. And we should be able to just, all I gotta do really is get that manifold out of my way to get to there's one bolt holding it all on. I can get to this one from right here. The other one I'm gonna have to do from underneath. You would hope when they put an engine in the car that gasket would have been changed. I'm hoping the housing's not cracked or something. Worst case scenario, we'll push this one out in the grass after I get it apart if we need another part. This is the one I told you last week he's not picking up for a couple of weeks. He's from New York. So when he comes back from the holiday, I guess, is when he's going to pick it up. All his hardware is in good shape too. Usually, like if the corners are sketchy and the nuts not in great shape, I'd replace it, but that all looks pretty good. 14 millimeter, not a 15 by the way. It's the beauty of old cars. One's a 14, one's a 15. You hang on to that for me, thanks. As if I made her money. The heck, man. Ah, the stud came out with that one. It's an aluminum cylinder head, so that's something to note going back together. You gotta be careful. I might have to take the studs all out to get it to pull out of the flange, but the flange floats, so I shouldn't have to. I'm hoping I can just kind of tilt it out of there just to get to the bolt. I'll just go forward with it. I can't quite get it to pull off the studs like I had fantasized about, but maybe with my little assistant. I'm not gonna punch myself in the face either, but sometimes I deserve it. What can I tell you? Well, I got 2 options. To pull all the studs out, which they seem to be coming out of the head pretty easy. I can loosen the flange on the other side, get that pipe to relax a little more. I'd rather not mess with all the studs in the aluminum head. Who knows if they're cross studs already. I'm going to loosen the flange on the other side. I really don't want to punch myself in the face here, but sometimes I got to do what I got to do. Be mindful of where the alternator is. I think these are way up top, so I can get on that. Something's happening. Let's see here if we can get a better look. That helps. Aha! Oil filter adapter bolt. That's all I need. I gotta get a drip pan. That looks like about 19 or so. Transmission extension and a 19 swivel ought to make quick work of it. Got my drip pan strategically placed. Let's give that a minute. Do its thing. Alright. Uh-oh. Let's get this on the workbench. Evaluate what's going on, and O-ring is on the block. Not doing too good. That's the old gasket. She's pretty mushed. Kind of strange, but the new gasket's a little small, but it kind of expands and you can push it in there, and it's prominent. That's what you want. You want prominent. And I gotta see if I can find O-rings for this, because this one looks like it's chewed up a little bit. I'm definitely gonna change them while we got it apart. I'll put it together otherwise, and that'll be leaking. We don't want to do that. All right, I scrounged up some O-rings from our collection. They had like an AC O-ring on that one. That's no bueno. I forget the materials, but one of them is compatible with transmission fluid and air conditioning, and the other style is compatible with oil and fuel. So you got to be careful which ones you use where. Nitrile and butylene, or I don't know. One of you guys in the comments probably know. But I found some that fit. You definitely want to make sure the O-ring is snug on the inner. It shouldn't be floating around too much, but it also should not be more than 50% of it sticking out past this edge, machined edge. This one here is a generous thickness like that one was, because it sits in a, oh, I poured all the oil out and there's more oil, cool. It sits in a tapered seat. So it should seal. The inner O-ring, I believe, just makes it so that the oil doesn't bypass the threads and go into a different part of the chamber, I'm guessing, but I haven't sat there to study it. I just want to get it to stop leaking. How about that? Let's get this back in. I got my fuel pump, the high pressure pump for that T350 too. So we're all working on Fords. Oh, there's a Chevy on the rack and an Acura, it looks like, or yeah. So there's other vehicles here. Don't feel bad. Look at that beauty. Even that tubing fitting is machined. Got a restrictor in it. Check valve, I'm supposing. Fomoco, so that's the good stuff. Vertical like we needed. The other one, the aftermarket one, was pointed this way and it wouldn't clear. There's a big cast bracket around it. But we're going to do that after we get this buttoned up. I got the adapter bolt started. There's a little ear on top that keeps it from turning when you torque it down. So we're going to snug it up with the impact, find out what the torque spec's supposed to be, and make this thing like a new car. Or like a really old car that's been fixed. One of those. I want to kind of hold it centered. I don't want to make the O-ring pull it centered. Let's go see how tight that's supposed to be. I think it's 47 foot-pounds, but I want to make sure. All right, 42 foot labs. I thought it was 47, but we will drop the icon torque wrench down to 42. Boom. Don't be sad about the extension and swivel. It'll be all right. Easy. That's actually 43.4. Gotta find a don't punch yourself in the face spot. The problem is when you fry on the flange, it wants to turn the manifold, so gotta find a better spot. I can't get my face, I can't see and pry and turn the manifold without risking punching myself in the jaw.
I'm going to put your socket somewhere for you.
Pull the top drawer out. It's in that tray underneath. Right there. Work? Yo. You like cooked nubs? Hey, cooked nubs.
Ah. Goodness gracious. It's a lot of work trying to avoid a lot of work. We got a few threads on the studs. This one doesn't look quite right. I gotta find a nut too. I lost one of the nuts down on the frame and I cannot find it. But I do know we got some more. 104,212 miles on this 2001 Sport Trac. If you guys aren't familiar with last week's video on it, I'm gonna fire it up, make sure that oil filter housing is no longer leaking. That was the worst of the leaks. So I'm gonna tack on that one first. I believe it is gonna have a front crank seal or front timing cover leak as well. I've got to do an oil change on it too, but I'm gonna make sure it's not leaking first. Change the oil and then have to take the oil pan off or something like that afterwards. It wouldn't make any sense, right? Where's my oil pressure? That's interesting. Let's look underneath. Hopefully it's not all on the ground. Nope. My oil pressure gauge isn't coming up. Interesting. It must not work because the engine got quiet. These timing chains on these things always make noise. This is a fairly new engine, but you know. So the noise went away. So that means the tensioner got oil pressure, but the gauge is pinned on low. Check gauge. Yeah, I know, right? The needle moves, but not as much as the battery meter obviously is trying to show battery voltage, but fuel gauge is up. Interesting. I gotta find the oil sender, make sure it's plugged in, and check this thing for leaks. It's really weird. It started running, it surged and shut off. I came back around, started it up again, and it's got oil pressure. I'm wondering if because I had that adapter off, possibly it lost a prime, oil prime. So like maybe it had a little oil pressure until it cleared air out of it. Kind of strange. The way it ran weird and stalled is probably a separate issue, I guess. I did put a battery in it last week, so it's lost all the memory. Maybe it's something to do with that. It's entirely possible that this little girl's got separate problems, but it surged, stalled, started back up, it's got oil pressure. Just another day in the life. It's like Hoovie's garage. You don't know what's going to happen. It could be a total disaster, or it could all work out thanks to the car wizard. Except the real car wizard, not the other one. Very odd. All right, I'm gonna let it run a little bit. It's definitely not leaking, which is good. It had a really bad leak. It would already left a 2-inch puddle by now. So I'm gonna start working on that high pressure pump when we come back. Just doing a little surge thing again. It's only been a minute. I'm just getting ready to go out to work on the old box truck. Interesting. No codes, no check engine light. Definitely running weird though. You didn't ask about that. I'm gonna let it run a little longer. I'm guessing it's gonna stall again. I haven't fixed anything, right? I have to see if he wants to mess with that too. Alright, I got a little rag stuffed in there as a protector. I also had this this fuse here, I believe it's 23. Although I mentioned the other day, Ford doesn't label the lid, and now they even took away the numbers, so you don't know the number locations. But as in the owner's manual, figured it out. Took that fuse out in case we had to turn the key on to move it, which we did last night. So now I'm just going to fix it out in the parking lot. Oh, this has got to go underneath those little catches. One of them's broken. That's alright, what are you gonna do? Let's get this in. And it's a couple of Torx. A couple of Torx bolts in that. Couple of fuel lines, electrical connector. And then we got a cover that has 2/8 holding it down. If you didn't see where I took it off, I'm going to get this together really quick. We're going to fire it up. We'll put the scan tool on it and we'll check the fuel pressures. Remember last time, if you saw the video, I was asking for 775 psi and it was fluctuating between 160 and 380 or so. So put a pump on it. Once we're done, we'll confirm our data. You definitely want to bring this down a little at a time, a turn, a turn, a turn, a turn, a turn. So you're only dropping the pump 60, 80 thousandths on each side at a time, so it goes down nice and straight. Lines, this one just push on, push this white clip down and lock it in place. And then we got to tighten this one. And once we do, then we'll put the main line on the fuel rail. I believe that's the fuel return line. Good and tight. And this latches and locks. So basically you click it on, you lock it, and then you lock the lock. You really don't want that coming off, and I don't blame them. So what this does is, it looks like this has two sets of injectors. This is the low pressure rail, and fuel goes through to those injectors, comes back to the pump, and then the pump takes that pressure and steps it up to the metal line. It goes to the direct injectors underneath the manifold. I think the only reason they want you taking the manifold off is they don't want you reusing that fuel line. But you can say it till you're blue in the face. It doesn't change how it's going to be done. Honestly, I haven't had where I had to replace the fuel line. They don't want you reusing it because it's a high pressure fitting. But my question is, why don't you replace all the lines when you do brakes? Like if you change a brake hose or a wheel cylinder, that's a high pressure line that you're loosening and tightening back up. But I think they do it as a precaution, kind of like the way they tell you to use new bolts because they have thread lock on them. You could just apply some thread lock, right? So I don't know, you guys, some of you guys might agree, some of you guys might not. You tell me in the comments. Someone said, I think it was John, he said, you said the comments are on fire. I don't even go in there and read everyone else's comments. I need to get in there. I said, mix it up. YouTube loves the comments and the feedback and the interaction, they call it. Even if you go in there to tell me how dumb I am, you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be a mechanic. I've had people say that too, which is funny. Let's get the keys, start this up. We'll drive it up to the shop and put the scanner on it, see what the data looks like. Cycle the key a couple times to build up the low end fuel pressure. Already seems to run better, honestly, but we got to verify the data. If I see desired and actual fuel pressure in line, everyone will be happy. All right, got the DS300 on here. I'm editing the video this week. Oop, there's updates. I'm gonna do them afterwards. We're editing the video on this tool. I'm gonna have a standalone video just about this tool. If anyone's interested, there'll be links, of course, and all that. But I'm really impressed with it, honestly. It's going to be in my top 2. Top Don, I sent them my serial number. We'll see if they give me an update for the Phoenix Lite 2, which I also like a lot. It has a kickstand and all the cool stuff they need. But the video footage I shot for this last week, I got 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of video. I want to get it down to about 20, maybe 30 minutes tops, but we'll see how that goes. It's going to take about 4 or 5 hours to edit it. Let's automatically search. I could look in my history files too and pull up the vehicle from last time I looked at it, but that's all right. That's right, this newer car, I'm not sure if it's because it's a 2020. It's got this download thing where it's gaining access and doing something where they can talk to each other. It's almost like a temporary app type of thing they're forcing it to do. I think they just do that because in the future they plan to have some control, kind of like Chrysler does, probably. That's the only way I can think of you can make Ford better is by making mechanics pay to work on them. And I know some people just say, well, that's part of being a professional, just pay, suck it up. But when you've been doing this over 40 years like I have, and it's been free until a few years ago, have a problem with it. I don't like it at all. So it's their greed, and they're just because they're, you know, they constantly have to find ways to make more money, whether it's affecting their employees to make more money, affecting their suppliers to make more money, affecting their customers and consumers that buy the product to make more money, or going after the mechanics to make more money. They're always, you know, it wasn't that way 30 years ago. They were just in the 80s, I think. Now, this is a lot of Wallace's work, and I apologize if you don't want to hear it. Go ahead a minute or two. In the 80s or so is when they started to get more. Basically, as they started pushing more of the federal mandates, the manufacturers started going more about profit. They always want to make a profit, but they didn't put profit first. They put brand reputation, you know, customers' opinions of their brand, all that first, and then profit. Well, now profit's way ahead, and what the customers think long term and all that stuff doesn't seem to matter. It might not even be in the top 5 anymore, I don't think. It's hard to say. They're all worried about their pensions and their retirements and their salaries and their bonuses, and the company being profitable so their share values go up, you know. And then if the company can also have a decent reputation, then they're happy. Nowadays they all seem to be struggling with the mandates. They can't keep up. There's just so much stuff being forced on them that they have to reach, I forget what it was, 35.5 miles per gallon by 2027, and they're nowhere near. Because the only way you get that kind of mileage is with a 2,200 pound car at a 1.5 liter engine, probably a diesel. So the fleet has to average 35.5. If they sell a lot of trucks, then they got to sell vehicles that make that average go back up. So system selection, enough blabbing. PCM, fuel pressure. Oh my goodness, it's going to download again. That's on heat, which is dumb. Heat is dumb. No, we don't want defrost. That's going to blow at my face. It's getting warm today. It's 80 degrees. Read data stream. Oh my goodness, it's going to download something else. I'm going to have to use one of my other scan tools on this or a vehicle similar to it if I have time, and see if it does this also. I've only noticed it on this vehicle. So now we're going to go fuel pump percentage, fuel rail pressure desired, fuel rail pressure. Fuel rail pressure desired 775, fuel rail pressure 900. Well, that tells me I have to clear out some adaptives. When you see it, we can do a combine too, and we will bring these two up in the graph. Now, if you watched the video the other day, the fuel rail pressure is in orange, the desired is in blue. And the other day, the orange one was, it was all over the map, jumping around about 200 psi because the pump was bad. Now the pump's good. It's actually got too much fuel pressure. So little by little, it's going to be trying to pull the fuel pressure down somehow or another. There's a regulator built into that pump I just installed. That regulator is going to have to get duty cycle down. What we can do is go into our adaptive strategies. It's going to be probably in special functions. I'm going to turn the key off, back on, so the engine's off, key on. I'm going to do, and I don't want to do everything. I think I'm going to have to. Relative compression. Let me look somewhere else and see if I can find it, maybe an actuation test. Idle shutdown, oil pressure, duty cycle, evap purge, canister, fuel pump percentage, fuel rail pressure desired. And it's not going to have anything here to let me clear that out. Well, we're going to go in and we're going to do special functions, keep alive memory. We're going to reset that. It's going to reset more things than I prefer. We'll go ahead and see if the actual and desired are closer together. Yes. Ignition on, engine off. This is essentially like taking the battery terminal off and putting it back on, but without losing all your radio memories and stuff that you might lose on some vehicles. Ensure the ignition is off. Okay. Application finished. And now I'm going to fire it back up. We're going to go data stream. See if it remembered what I picked before. That would be cool. Let's see if I just go okay. Yep, there it is. And now it's even higher. Yeah, so that's going to be a learned function. Combine these two. This is going to be a learned function. It is 775 still, and now we're at 2,000 psi. So what I'm going to do is let this run a little while. We'll come back to it in a little bit and see if the actual fuel pressure has been brought down by the fuel pressure regulator. It could be possible the new pump has a bad regulator that's making it go wide open or something too, or working a much higher threshold than it would expect. So we'll see. I'm going to let it run a few minutes. All right, we're back from a nice road test, and now it's a lot happier. Fuel pressure is actually still adjusting down just a tiny bit. So that's all it took. I was a little nervous because you put a new fuel rail pump in because of low fuel pressure, and then when you see it's double what it's asking for. But basically the car was just upset I hadn't driven it yet, saying take me for a drive and we'll be okay, and that's what happened. So this one's fixed. I'm gonna go park it. We're gonna focus on this Sport Trac some more, I believe. It looks like it might still be leaking oil. I'm gonna have to do that front crank seal. I think I see oil coming from that now. So we were planning to do that anyway. I just was gonna try to save him some money if I could. But she's an old girl. She needs a little love. Uh-oh. I don't know. Should we really be aligning a car that has no front end? I guess so. Let's do it. Uh-oh, he's a Lyft driver. He's an Uber Lyft, even more than a regular Uber. I think that guy in the truck's gonna be backing out soon. I gotta get out of the way. Get out of the way. Let's get this thing in the alignment rack. It hasn't been a terribly productive day. I got some things done from last week. This is the first car from today. Hasn't really been that busy. There's just a lot of cars everywhere. Really strange. Really strange. Oh, malfunction. Visit your dealer. I know, don't be sad. Don't be sad. Now I'm going to really make it mad. Leave the keys in it. 43,000 miles. 2022 Toyota Corolla. We'll see if something's bent first. Oh, we got a lot of new goodies. That's why it's got some toe out, but I don't see anything bent. So they already did the work. So we just got to set an alignment. Maybe it's just the toe. Let's get the heads on there and find out. $2016. This is a 23. I thought it was a 22. My goodness, they're putting some miles on their car. Doing that Uber, I hope they're making a lot of money. Use your car for work. You can deduct some of the miles, but I don't know. You guys have any experience doing Uber or Lyft? You make any money doing it? Someone did comment. I said something on a Royalty Motors video. I commented that mechanics are expected to do some things for free. A little bit of a pity party I was having, and he commented that Uber drivers work for free all the time. If you guys drive Uber, let me know. I'm curious what you have to do for free when you pick somebody up and get paid. And I guess if you go to this thing and they back out, then you don't get paid. You know why that's on the step? You trip on it if you try to step. Let's do that. Uh-oh, it's so far out I can't even align it yet. I gotta set the toe before I can set the toe. Look at all the new goodies. Oh, they tightened it. Sweet. That's probably a 21 and about a 15 on the tie rod end. Let's see. Let's see here. Is this the right size? 15. Oh yeah. And 22. It wasn't tight. But what they did is just barely bump it snug so it's touching. And it seems like it's tight. That might be worse. Come on, man. Let's get some of this toe in here. Turn a quarter turn each time. About, maybe a little more. I don't have the steering wheel lock on it yet. We're not really aligning it.
We just want to get the compensation to be accurate when it's this far out. It assumes that the head's not up tight on the wheel or something's really wrong with it. So I want you to do this just to get close, and I'll have to restart the procedure. You see it on the right hand side of the screen at the bottom, restart procedure. Ow. There's no new parts over here, so I'm going to disregard the steer head. Like I said, the steering wheel's not locked, and go by the total tone number. All the steer head means is if your wheel's locked and straight, then it's not going to be going straight with the wheel straight. If I had the wheel locked, I'd have to focus on the other side. One more quarter turn. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to get tightened up.
High five.
A little more than they had it. Ugh.
Now my total toe and my steer head. We'll see what the steering wheel looks like in here.
That is a little to the right. Not terrible though. So we'll go like this. Steer head got worse. Okay.
We can go up and push restart procedure, and we will roll it again. We should have a touch screen. Nope. Now it won't even try to do it until I roll it back.
Now it'll let me do it again.
Now it's worth locking the steering wheel after my caster sweep. Got my brake pedal lock on there. The steering lock will go on after the caster sweep. Put it on ahead of time, it'll keep you from doing it. Hope no body panels or fender liners are sticking out past the tires. It would mess with the heads.
Straighten the wheel.
Yep, the stuff is out on the right side. Okay. Let's get the wheel locked down straight. Make sure the ignition is off. It was mad that it wasn't in park, so it wouldn't let it turn off. The wheel was pretty straight to me.
Make sure that didn't move anything. We've got a camber and caster issue, and I don't think there's an adjustment for caster. Probably have to shim the, move the cradle or something like that.
No tools. Uh-oh. All right, let's look underneath and see. Sometimes if the car was hit, it pushes the cradle back, which means that lower ball joint goes back, which means the caster straightens up, right? It's too negative. It wants more positive. You see how it's green on the left side? It's only 7 or 8 tenths more positive from red to green. So if we bring up the bar graph, we'll have an idea how far we need to go. Show bar graphs. So 3 tenths I need. Ideally, I want 6.5, 6.6, so that it has a little less caster to the left. If you watch other alignment videos, always supposed to decide with the most camber and the least caster. So I want to get a little bit more caster before I even worry about camber. Maybe the strut is bent slightly. That's possible. If loosening the cradle and letting it relax doesn't fix that, then we'll have to investigate the strut a little closer. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there you go. The cradle has been shifted back. You see that where it's a little shinier black?
I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the other one up here. Yeah, we're going to loosen these. I think they're 19s, 2 of them. And sometimes you have to loosen a third or even a fourth bolt, and that will let this go punk. And this little 1/8 inch or so might be perfect to get that caster right. I'm not sure if it'll help the camber, but sometimes just correcting the toe afterwards will get me that camber, that little bit of camber I need. I'm gonna loosen this one, you go watch that. Now we'll try prying some stuff. Uh-oh, it's not moving enough. Bummer. I got it within 1/10. I'm gonna try setting the toe, re-sweeping the caster, and see if that helps. The machine seems to have gotten more happier. I loosened this and tried shifting the arm. I loosened the cradle bolts, and that got me about 1/10 and a half, and then doing the toe got me my other 1/2 When I re-sweep the caster, we'll see if it's really, like I've said in other videos, but what the machine's doing is watching how things change and calculating what the caster will probably be. And once I physically sweep the caster, that's a Japanese V-twin. When I sweep the caster again, then we'll get a more accurate measurement. This here is a camber bolt. You gotta take that bolt out of there. I usually use the top one. I leave the bolts tight. I'll take the top bolt out, the factory one. I'll install this with the weight on the car and the bottom bolt still tight. Then I'll take the weight off and loosen the bottom bolt. See how much I can adjust. Oh, what the heck? It turned green while we were away. It's right on the edge of being green. I may not need to do this. May not need to do it. Don't hurt anybody's feelings with that. Oh, they'd be sad. I told them it needed a camber kit. Now it turned green. That's how close it is. 1, 1. Before I lifted it up, it said 1, 1, and it was red. Now it's 1, 1, and it's green. That is freaking funny. Let's do a print. 1.1. Huh. Maybe it did change 1/10 and I didn't notice it. That doesn't seem right. It was red just a second ago, I promise. All my spiel about putting a camber bolt in it. Now I'm not going to get to show you. Because you know what? We're taking the easy way out. All the body shop wants is a green alignment. I mean, if it was 2.5 degrees, it wouldn't be green, but say for instance it was, then I would have to do something to get a little less camber variation. Normally, there's a tolerance of 1/2 degree. That whole opening is 1/2 degree. And the variation from left to right, there's a specification for it too, which is also green. That is so strange. Maybe when I did the caster and then I lifted the car up and down a couple times, it settled and changed the camber 1/10 without me adjusting anything. It's so sensitive. If you go like this, yeah, it's still green, but you can see where the readings changed. Cool. I'm gonna say this one's done. 62 is falling apart. What the heck? Actually, I put this latch in this side now. You saw that video. You gotta cut the door open, put this new latch mechanism in, put a new latch plate on there, and sometimes you gotta realign the gaps and stuff. And the fender was touching here because I got everything, you know. If you guys watched any videos on this truck, I replaced so much rust. This had roofing tin on it, and none of it's right. I did it all pretty quick, even though I got hundreds of hours in it. It wasn't with the intention of painting it. But basically now my goal is safety. So I had to lower the door down, get it aligned a little better, get this little guide lined up because it sits in that channel, and get everything. Now it's nice.
that's where we're ending it today, guys. Project Truck Hope, Project Truck Positivity, I guess. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. We got quite a few things done today. More productive than yesterday. Hopefully that trend continues the rest of the week. Torque the like button before you leave if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget the Amazon store coming up on Christmas. All kinds of specials through them. So hope I see you in the next video, because you're awesome.